Hey there guys, how are you? So Hacksaw Ridge. This is one of those theater experiences that you go into and it reminds you of why you like movies. Because it's a good movie, it's refreshing, and it's captivating, and it's everything that you want. And typically, when it comes to my movie reviews, I don't let you know that until at least the halfway point of the video. But this is just one of those movies that remind me of why I like movies. This movie stars ex-Spider-Man Andrew Garfield as Desmond Doss, who was a medic during World War II and saved 75 soldiers. Now this movie is based on true life events and it follows the story of Desmond Doss, who was a real man, a real soldier during World War II. And just the fact that this man went into battle, he refused to carry a weapon. If you really put yourself in that situation, that's terrifying. He'd rather save people during the war, which is why he became a medic. No guns, no killing. And that reminds me of something.
You gotta be kidding me.
No guns, no killing.
Where's the fun in that?
Now once again, this movie's based on real life events, and sometimes when you take real life events and translate those to film, they embellish certain things along the way. And for example, in Hacksaw Ridge, the soldiers had to climb a very tall cliff to go into battle. And now right here's the movie version versus the real life version. So yeah, what they did is they took the real life cliff and multiplied the height by about 5. To make it more cinematic. Now there are several scenes in this movie where Desmond Doss goes above and beyond to save people's lives, and there's other scenes in this movie where he just completely goes way above and beyond, and you think to yourself, okay, they made that up, they embellished the truth a little bit, that didn't quite happen like that. But to my surprise, after I went home and researched this movie and the true life events that happened, a lot of it actually did happen, and it's mind-blowing. And Andrew Garfield's take on Desmond Doss was very subtle, it was believable, and after seeing interviews with the real-life Desmond Doss and you see Andrew Garfield's performance, I think he did a pretty good job. And I really bought into his character motivations, and at times the character might seem stubborn, and you're like, just do it, dude, what's the big deal? But you really have to understand where he's coming from, and I think the movie does a really good job of explaining that to where you as an audience member, you can understand this person and you almost have to agree with him at times because essentially it is the right thing to do. And returning to direct after a 10-year hiatus, Mel Gibson, the director of Braveheart, Passion of the Christ, and my personal favorite and underrated movie, Apocalypto. Yeah, if you haven't seen Apocalypto yet, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. It's very underrated, and it's essentially one brutal, long chase sequence that takes place during an entire movie. People are getting their hearts ripped out, and there's jaguars chasing and eating people. Watch it. And when it comes to films directed by Mel Gibson, he holds nothing back. If you watch any one of his films, they're very brutal. Well, maybe not this one right here, but besides that, they're all very brutal and very violent. But most importantly, you care about the characters in these situations, so when you see that brutality and that violence, it matters that much more. And before we dive into all the brutality and violence and war scenes of the movie, which are very explosive, bloody, and just terrifying, I first want to tell you about one of my favorite portions of the film. And that is the boot camp training sequence where Desmond Doss first goes to boot camp and all of his fellow soldiers hate him because they feel like he's a coward because he refuses to pick up a weapon to save their lives when they're in the heat of battle. And it's during this segment of the movie where actor Vince Vaughn comes into play. Now when Vince Vaughn was first cast in this movie and you heard about it, you're like, oh, that's just Vince Vaughn. That doesn't make any sense for this type of movie. But when you see the character that Vince Vaughn plays in this movie, he was cast perfectly. Now, this entire sequence of the film had a very heavy-handed Full Metal Jacket vibe going on. You could suck a golf ball through a garden hose! Now, let's get back to Vince Vaughn. In this film, he plays Sergeant Hal, who's a very fast-witted, hard-on-you drill sergeant who picks you apart instantaneously, and he shows you a lot of tough love to make you a tough, badass soldier, but he's very funny along the way. Some of his one-liners, they're comedy gold, and I would almost go as far to say some of the lines that Vince Vaughn gives in this movie might have been improv during the filming, and I don't think a lot of things that he said was scripted, because some of the things he says just felt like only Vince Vaughn would say those things. And the movie also stars Jake Sully himself, Sam Worthington, as Captain Glover. And I think it's fair to say Sam Worthington gave a pretty solid performance in this movie, but no matter what movie he's in, he can never truly hide his Australian accent. I'm going to take these men out of here and go down under. That was a little bit extreme, but that's an example. Now let's talk about the battle sequences that take place on Okinawa. This is a real life battle, it really happened, and when you think about these things, when you watch movies like this, it adds an extra level of intensity because you think to yourself, this really did happen. People went through this. Because when I watch things like this unfold on the big screen, I think to myself, I am a coward. I would not have, there's no way. There's just Fucking no way. Now, like I said before, Mel Gibson as a director holds nothing back, and the best way I can describe the war sequences in this film, it almost feels like you're getting your ass kicked for several minutes at a time. You're getting punched over and over, you're covered in your own blood, you're sweating, and by the time it's over, you feel a level of relief. Now, not only are they intense, but they're also terrifying at times. There are several scenes in this movie where I jumped. As far as a war film goes, this movie encapsulates everything that it's supposed to do. It makes you care about the characters and shows you how brutal and terrible war really is. So with all that said, I'm going to give Hacksaw Ridge, my only complaints with the film, there are some things I thought they should have shed more light on that ended a little bit too quickly, and the first act of the movie, as far as pacing goes, felt like it should have been paced a little bit quicker than it was. That's my take on Hacksaw Ridge. Now here's my question to you guys, and let me know down below in the comments section, what is your favorite war movie of all time? Or what is the most inspiring movie that you've ever watched? And also, if you haven't already, please make sure you watch my last movie review for the movie Halloween. It's a creepy good time where I walk into my house and I stalk my girlfriend with a Blu-ray. Anyway, if you want to watch it, I'll put the link down below, or stay tuned until after the video and you can just click the big annotation. It makes life easier. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. That way I can see you next time.